Hi, welcome to our video about person-centred planning. My name is Heather Anderson and I work for an organisation called the Scottish Human Services Trust. All of the work that we do is around increasing social inclusion, and I'm part of a team of people who help facilitate person-centred planning. We've called this video Getting a Life. The reason we've called it that is because person-centred planning is quite simply helping people work out what kind of life they want, and more importantly, helping them work out how to get that life. You may be sitting at home wondering, why is there a problem? Why can't people just get the life they want? Well, as far as we see it, there is a problem. There are many people in our society who are at risk of social exclusion. They can be older people, children in care, people who carry the many labels of disability, people with mental ill health problems, people with the label of learning difficulties. Many of these people spend a lot of their time being assessed for the rationed resources from the world of services. We call this world service land. Service land is a bit like a parallel universe. People spend a lot of their time being bused in special transport to special schools or special units next to the real school. They could spend their days doing special college courses that never finish. They can spend years of their lives in day centres. They can do job placements which aren't paid. Some people even live in service land in residential group homes. The rule of thumb seems to be the more support you need, the greater number of strangers you have to live with. We know that people need support to spend time with their friends and their family, to have neighbours, to go to the local pub, to be in their own houses, to go to ordinary shops. We know that the cost of living in service land can be social segregation. We also know that for many people working in services, the job of continually assessing people and working out what they could do through the day is both frustrating and stressful. So what's different about person-centred planning and how does it help people solve those problems? Firstly, the person who has control in person-centred planning is the person who wants the plan and their supporters. Secondly, we don't ask about recent incidents or problems. We ask a completely different set of questions. We may ask people what their story is and how they can tell their story and explain how they've got to where they are now. We may ask people to talk about their dreams and aspirations, and we help people build up a rich picture. We may ask them to tell us what their nightmare is so that we could avoid getting there. And with the people in the room, we build up a picture of who this person really is, and we talk about their capacity and their contribution and all their gifts. When we use the PATH person-centred planning tool, we start off by asking people to explore their dream. We then spend a lot of time in the meeting working out what their life will look like if they've had a positive and possible year. We come back to the present to check how things are now. We ask people to identify the people they want in their team. We then help the team work out how they're going to be a strong group of people to support the person. We identify the key areas of work that people need to do, and they identify the first steps they're going to take. When we use essential lifestyle planning, we start by getting people to describe the person whose plan it is. We identify the things that must happen in the person's life and the things that must not happen in the person's life from their point of view. We help them think about the people, things and places that are important to them. And in person-centred planning, we try to be very specific about support. We ask people to tell us what we need to do to keep them healthy and safe. We ask them to be clear about how they want to be supported. We ask them to explain the ways in which they communicate and how we can communicate with them. In many types of planning, people tend to plan around a diagnosis. They say that people with autism need services like this. In person-centred planning, we do not plan around a diagnosis, we plan around an individual. As you can see, the question in person-centred planning is not what kind of services do you need. The question is what kind of life do you want to live and how can we best support you to live that life. The last thing you need to know is that in person-centred planning there are usually two independent facilitators. One is a graphic facilitator who keeps a record of everything that happens during the planning session. The other person is a process facilitator. They ask the questions and keep the group focused. So now I'm going to hand you over to the real experts. Firstly, we're going to hear from Moira, who's going to talk about her daughter Colette's plan for leaving school. Then we're going to hear about Diane, who'll talk about how her family worked on a plan to get her son included in the local primary school.
I'm Moira, and the reason I'm here is that our daughter Colette, who is 15, is now preparing to leave school. We've decided that her plan for what she will do after she leaves school has to be worked on just now. And we're doing that using person-centred planning. The reason we're using that is because at the heart of it is Colette. She is the person whose future we're working on. We want to get it right for her. As I've already said, 15, and she is disabled, which means that we have to work very hard just to make sure that she does get the kind of future that she wants. As well as having a disability, her communication is not verbal, which means that we need to ensure that we do get the kind of activities and the kind of interests in her day that she wants. Why we've decided to do it is that really there isn't much on offer for her once she leaves school. When we embarked on the person-centred process, we realised that it would not be best for Colette if it were just her dad and I that were doing this. Although we know and love her very much, we also recognise that other people would know her as well, and we wanted to have a group of people who loved her and cared about her and who knew her well, so that they could bring their knowledge of Colette to this process. So we invited a group of about 12 people that had known Colette for a long time, had been part of her life and who really did know her well, and we asked them to come along to the house one night and we would discuss the kind of things that Colette liked, who she was, what her strengths were, the kind of activities that she liked to do, the kind of people that she liked to be with, etc. Lots and lots of different aspects of it. And people were delighted to do that. They wanted to come along. We sat around and we thought, what would Colette like to be doing in a year's time, in 2 years' time? What did we think she would like to try that was different? What would we be able to plan and create for her that would be a really good life, a life of variety, a life that would allow her to still learn and still develop and to try out some new things. But we also recognised that sometimes it's not very easy for her to try out new things, so there would always have to be safeguards so that if we were trying things out, Colette would be able to still be safe and well, because sometimes she can become very unwell. So we were realistic, but we were also trying to create the kind of life that we know that she would enjoy, which would give her quite a lot of the things that she does do just now, but would give her the chance to try out new things, which is what people are doing when they're 15, 16 and 17. And everyone who was there said that they really enjoyed hearing what other people thought about Colette, hearing stories of how she had enjoyed being with them, what she'd been doing. And we all discovered things about her that we didn't know, which was a really, really great bonus for us all. And we all found out what Colette meant to us all. So it was a real celebration as well about who she is and how she had grown and up and developed. It was a really good experience for all of people who were there. It was a very supportive experience as well. What we discovered was that she would like to do certain things, that she would like to try out new things, and that's what we're going to be working on. It's not going to be easy, it's going to take a lot of energy, but the good thing is that we have support from the people who were there and from other people who have been very encouraging and who are interested in what it is we're trying to help Colette achieve. I recognise that it will take a lot of energy because things have been done the same way for a very long time, and this is very much a different way of doing it. But what I would say is that it feels that it's the right way to do it, because at the heart of the whole thing is Colette. She's the one who matters in all of this. She's the one whose future, whose life is of importance to everyone who was present at the planning. We all want it to work for her. We all want to give it the energy. We all want to support her to be as independent and to have as individual and as a creative a life as it's possible for her to have. We want her to be happy. To do that with her. So it's certainly an alternative approach that I know feels right, and it feels right because it's all about Colette, not about anything else, just about her.
We decided to have a plan made up for our son, really to give us a clearer idea of how we could have him included in mainstream education at primary level. He's preschool age just now, and we really wanted him to be going to a local mainstream primary, and we weren't sure how we should go about that. It was a very empowering experience. We were a bit apprehensive to start with, and I think everyone present at the meeting were all a bit stiff. We had family there and one particular professional who's involved with our son in his education at the moment. And we were all a bit stiff and a bit unsure, and never been in this situation before. And also it was being videoed, so at the start we were a bit conscious of the fact that Claire was there with her video poking in our faces. That very quickly sort of disappeared. We were unaware as we got sort of caught up in the sort of emotion of it all. It was a very enriching and enlightening experience, and it was the first time that family had sat round and actually talked in detail about Alan and how we all felt about him. It was very positive at the start when we all sort of gave our favourite story about Alan. It got off to a really nice start to sit and sort of discuss our, most happiest memories and things he'd done with us and we'd done with him. That was very enriching and quite a learning thing, because he obviously gets up to a lot of mischief when he's with grandparents that we don't know about. So it was quite nice to hear what he'd been doing with them when we hadn't been there. It also gave us a chance to speak very openly and honestly about our feelings in a safe environment. It was done at our own home, and we felt, very secure in that environment, and it was very easy to start off being a bit reserved, but very quickly opening up and everyone getting onto the one level. As a result of the plan, we now have a clearer picture of how to get Alan into mainstream school. We've all been given sort of tasks to do, which is actually very good, because I think my husband and I felt the responsibility was all on our shoulders, and that we really didn't know where to start. But everyone has been given a little job that they can do to help that, and I know for a fact that that was great for grandparents and aunts, because they're all dying to do something to help and constantly ask, what can we do? And it's very difficult to know what they can do. But the plan made it very clear that there are practical things that they can take on board that are not major issues. It's just everyday things when they're speaking to people locally, finding out information about schools, how their friends, grandchildren are getting on in their school. So that was really helpful. We just felt we don't have to do it all. If you ever have the chance to be part of this person-centred planning, I would say definitely go for it. It's everything becomes much clearer. The only way I can describe the way we felt was looking into a fog, and we were taking steps forward and not really seeing what was happening or coming up in front of us next until it was at our noses. There was no sort of plan for the future really, but now there is very clear steps that we have to take, and we take them a step at a time, and that makes things much easier. And I think at the end of the day that what it taught us more than anything, that it was a victory for common sense, because all the obstacles that we were coming up against, when we sat and actually thought about them logically and how we could get around them, there was always not an easy answer, but a straightforward answer that was staring us in the face where we thought, it had to be something complicated. So I would say go for it. It certainly made our plans a lot clearer, and we have much more confidence, and we're now sure that Alan will be getting the education that we think is best for him.
We hope we've managed to give you a flavour of person-centred planning and how it works. If you want any more information, please contact me at SHS 1A Washington Court, Washington Lane, Edinburgh, EH11 2HA. Our telephone number is 0131 538 7717. We look forward to hearing from you.